I've been guilty in the past of fat shaming Luka Dončić. I definitely have. And I'm not going to say that I feel vindicated in this moment right now as we learn the news of Luka Dončić being traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not going to say that I feel vindicated in the fat shaming. Probably shouldn't do it. But it definitely seems like me and the Dallas Mavericks have been on the same page about this Luka Dončić conditioning issue. Now, where we differ is while I have done some fat shaming, a lot of it for me is tongue in cheek. Now, I'm not as invested, I'm not invested at all. But a lot of it for me is tongue in cheek because I'm actually marveling at how incredible of a basketball player Luka Dončić is, despite not being in tip-top shape. It's a similar but not quite the same situation with watching the Joker, watching Nikola Jokic. I went to a game at, they're not calling it the Pepsi Center anymore, but I went to a game in Denver and watched the Nuggets play the Atlanta Hawks on, it would have been the day after New Year's, right? And I promise you, not a once did this guy sprint. I don't know if he really jumped. He just was able to kind of gallop and exist out there and still put up a triple-double. And it was like, man, I marvel at how you can dominate a game without sprinting. Similar with Luka Dončić. I marvel at how he can dominate a game without seeming like he's in tip-top shape, or at times seeming like he might be in the worst physical shape of anybody out there on the floor, yet he's the best and most talented and most in control. I've marveled at it. Where we differ, me and the Mavs, is that they not marveling at it. They not marveling at it at all. They looking at it like, man, we're up for paying this guy the supermax. This guy's up for the supermax, and we don't want to invest 5 years in a player as talented as Luka Dončić is. We don't want to invest this money in a player that we don't feel like is trustworthy. And that is a shocking development. Because I thought it was just me talking shit on the internet, talking about how Luka's fat and marveling at how he's able to dominate a basketball game despite being fat. But it's actually the Mavs this whole time been like, yeah, his fat ass is fat, and we ready to ship him up out of here. Shocking development to find out from Shams Charania at the end of Saturday night. And look, if you want to pretend like you knew that this was a possibility, you've been following the tea leaves for long enough that you knew that Luka Dončić was possibly going to get moved and that the Lakers could be a possibility. Well, hats off to you. Salute to you. Kudos to you. But if you want to pretend like you knew that this was something that was going to happen at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, 11 o'clock Central Time on a Saturday night, we was going to get this type of bombshell, you're lying. You're kidding. This is, I have never been this shocked and this taken aback by a trade, I think, in NBA history. And it is already, like, I think objectively one of the more unique and one of the bigger bombshell type of trades, blockbuster type of trades, if you will, in NBA history. But I have never been this surprised and this caught off guard by a trade ever. I don't think ever. Maybe in any sport have I ever been this caught off guard by a trade ever. And the particulars of it, just to get that out of the way. The Lakers are getting Luka Dončić, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris from the Mavericks. And the Mavericks are getting Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a Lakers first-round pick from 2029. The Jazz are getting Jalen Hood-Schifino and the Clippers 2025 second-round pick and the Mavs 2025 second-round pick. So those are the particulars. The story here, without a doubt, is whatever it is. Like, and this is how I put it. I cannot wait until we get the tell-all from the fallout or the fall off with Luka Dončić and the Dallas Mavericks. What happened and how did this relationship sour to this point? Because it is one thing to not trust your superstar. It is one thing to not feel like your superstar is committed enough or doing enough things to take care of their body and things like that. It is one thing to have concerns, valid concerns about your superstar. It is an entirely different thing to look at that superstar and say, you know what? Despite the fact that this is a player that just took me to the NBA Finals, despite the fact that this is a player that is 25 and is probably not even entered their prime yet, much less figured exactly how they're going to take care of their body as a professional. They're still figuring that part out. They're not going to do it, and I am going to bet against that player. That is shocking. Shocking that the Mavericks would do that. They are betting against Luka Dončić's future. When you watch them in the finals last year, when you watch them on the way to the finals last year, as you watch Luka's career since he's been in the league, from the moment he got to the NBA, it's been betting on Luka Dončić's future. And the Mavs are going to punt on that. The story is what happened. How did it go south between Luka Dončić and the Dallas Mavericks? Because they were positioned, whether you think that the Mavs were going to go back to the finals this year or whatever it is, like however you thought of the Mavs season right now, and I know Luka's been hurt, but having him made them a relevant team, a contender from now until the moment that he retires, as long as he was on the team. Now it's interesting, and we can get into this too. They have done an interesting thing by trading Luka for Anthony Davis because they still get a top 10 to 15-ish type of player in the NBA, and they are still relevant now. But what does it say for their future? What does the future for the Dallas Mavericks look like with an Anthony Davis on the other side of 30, a Kyrie Irving on the other side of 30, the ghost of Klay Thompson? Like, what is their core? They are betting on the now, and I don't know if you look at the Mavericks right now and say that's a team that is threatening the Western Conference. Western Conference is kind of wide open, but I don't know if you look at them and say that's the team that I'm afraid of. But more so than that, you look at their future and you say, what does it look like? What does it look like if no Luka Dončić? Damn, I can't believe the Mavs did this, man. This is wild. And I wonder, too, as a side note, what they going to do with all them damn Luka jerseys in Dallas? I don't spend a whole lot of time in Dallas, but I know enough of them. I know enough of y'all Dallas folks. I know enough of people out there. Been out there enough times. I know them Luka jerseys, man, they are thick out there. Everywhere they got them Luka jerseys. You go to a Mavs game, that's all there is. Luka and Dirk jerseys. That's what's out there. What is the next Mavs game gonna look like? I know it's gonna still be Luka jerseys. What they gonna do with all of them? I bet if you were a Mavs fan or somebody that sells Mavs merch, you probably thought, whether you sell the merch or bought the merch, you probably thought that a Luka jersey would sell or be relevant for the rest of your life. Because how does Luka end up anywhere else? Your market and your finances dictate that you shouldn't have any kind of problem paying somebody like this. And the NBA is set up this way where the salaries are boilerplate anyway. Everybody can afford to keep their superstars if their superstars want to stay. Why wouldn't Luka want to stay in Dallas? Create the type of environment, win them from the very beginning, go to the finals, make a move to get Kyrie Irving. moved KP out of there, moved Kristaps Porzingis out of there on his behalf, got rid of Rick Carlisle on his behalf. Like they have made all of the moves to placate toward Luka Dončić, and it's been successful. Why would he ever want to leave? I bet you if you sold merch or bought it, you probably thought them things was gonna last forever. I can imagine what it's gonna look like in Dallas and Arlington, wherever the hell they playing these days. I know this much though. If I was a Mavs fan, if there was an analogous situation for the Rockets, if I was a Mavs fan, or if Luka was on the Rockets and this happened, I would be livid. I would be livid. Man, I would be livid. Even if you can sell me on what this season could look like with Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving leading the way. Because I do believe that's a winning team. I do believe that is a threatening team with those two. And you are a much better defensive team, obviously, with Anthony Davis. You bring Anthony Davis in versus Luka Dončić, which, by the way, was another complaint from the Mavericks. So let's get into this, because I'm alluding to this, but I'm getting around, I guess, the citation of it all. But Tim McMahon of ESPN, shortly after Shams Charania reported this trade, reported the details of this trade, which, by the way, Shams mentions that the Mavericks approached the Lakers recently and offered Luka Dončić. Said the Lakers brass met and believed that the 25-year-old Dončić has the ability to be the face of their franchise for the next decade, while giving Anthony Davis a win-now move in Dallas. Which I would, on the face of that, just start off by agreeing with that. I think that there is some clear logic in that. But let's back up. Tim McMahon of ESPN reports, and he's quoting Mavs GM Nico Harrison. Okay. I believe that defense wins championships. This is the Mavs GM telling ESPN on commenting on the motivation for trading Luka Dončić to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. He tells Tim McMahon of ESPN, I believe that defense wins championships. That's how the quote starts. I believe that defense wins championships. This guy doesn't play defense. Are you kidding me? I believe that defense wins championships. I believe that getting an all defensive center and an all NBA player with a defensive mindset gives us a better chance. We're built to win now and in the future. Which is to suggest that the dude that led them to the finals in Luka Dončić doesn't believe in defense, doesn't have a defensive mindset, and doesn't give them a better chance, doesn't have them built to win now and in the future, or that this does. That's a hell of a statement, man. We got to get to the bottom of this. We got to figure out, like, how big is Luka really? How out of shape is Luka really? How insubordinate is Luka really? And I say insubordinate for lack of a better term, not to say that he's a subordinate, but how difficult, if you will, how difficult is he to deal with? What the hell happened with Luka Dončić and the Dallas Mavericks? This does not make any sense. Everything, and I mean everything that this guy says it's to me is indicative of a relationship gone bad. He believes that this gives them a better chance and that they're built to win now and in the future better than if they had the 25-year-old all-NBA Luka Dončić, who is arguably a top 3 player in the league. at 25, they don't feel like they can figure out. And I know he's been in the league a while now already, and maybe that's the issue. It's been long enough. He can't rely on, hey, I'm just a kid and I'm just figuring it out. He should be a pro by now, and it's not getting better. And we don't want to invest in this. Maybe that's the logic. But you're telling me that you can't figure out a way to get on the same page with your 25-year-old superstar to feel better about his work regimen and his commitment to the game? Oh man, there's a story there. There is an onion there. There are layers to unravel here. You got to peel back these layers, man. What happened here? Huge turn of events, man. I just can't believe it. And then from the Lakers standpoint, this is what makes it interesting from the Lakers standpoint. I think, like, what if the concerns that the Mavs have about Luka Dončić are true? Like, I think this is what's interesting for the Lakers. They can justify this trade whether it ends up working or not. They can justify this trade whether it ends up working out with Luka or not. I don't think that that's the same with the Mavs. With the Mavs, I think that this is them betting against Luka's future, in my opinion. This is the Mavs betting against the future of Luka Dončić. Because what if Luka Dončić, in shape or not, goes on to have the amazing career that we all have anticipated that he would have, and that he seems to be on pace and on track to have with the Lakers? They go to the finals, probably win a final, at least a finals. Like, what if he goes on and continues to have this Hall of Fame career that it seems like he's on the trajectory on? What if that happens? And the Mavs are, a fifth, sixth seed for as long as they've got this iteration of the Mavs going, and they got to refigure their future. And let me guess, they don't get a Luka Dončić before Luka Dončić retires. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if Luka goes on to have the career that we all anticipate he'll have, the Mavs are going to look silly. They're going to look ridiculous for doing this. They are going to look dumb for this. I think for the Lakers, they're betting on his future. Mavs betting against Luka Dončić's future. The Lakers obviously betting on his future. Even if it doesn't work, you'll always be able to go back and see the logic in it. Man, the Anthony Davis thing is good as he's been, and as cool of a story as the Lakers have been over the last few weeks or so. They're hanging in there. They look like they're competitive. It seems like there's a ceiling on that. It seems like the writing on the wall is that the Lakers have gotten the most out of the LeBron AD pairing that they're going to get. That thing has reached its ceiling. And even if you don't believe that, you got to bet on the future of Luka Dončić over the present of AD and LeBron. And I think the reality must have set in at some point, probably whenever it is that the Mavs called them about Luka Dončić, when the Lakers had to realize, look, the only way that we're really going to get better and take another step is if we trade one of these guys, either LeBron or Anthony Davis. And it wasn't going to be LeBron. We know they're not going to trade LeBron. So that means it's Anthony Davis. And who do you trade Anthony Davis for? There ain't a lot of players in this league that you would trade Anthony Davis for. Luka Dončić would be one of them. And so it makes sense from the Lakers standpoint, whether it works or not. We're not going to be able to do revisionist history on this. If Luka flames out, or for whatever reason the Lakers flame out and they don't actually ever do anything with it. And I find it hard to believe that if Luka plays there for an extended amount of time, that over the course of that time that the Lakers are not going to at some point be successful. Find that very, very hard to believe. But if that happens, the Lakers will still be able to justify this move because it makes sense to bet on Luka Dončić, an all-NBA player at 25 years old. Those type of guys just don't come available to you all the time. I know you ended up getting Anthony Davis probably around the same age, but point being though, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, you've won a championship, but you've also seen what that looks like in the postseason. Like I imagine that the most recent postseason had to be the most recent playoff run had to be really deflating for them, realizing that they just could not get over the hump. That they did not have it. They were not good enough. And I feel like the Lakers had to realize that the way for them to take that step was to get rid of one, at least one of those two guys, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, because that's the type of player that it takes to get you the upgrade that you need. So, yeah, I think this is to me. I don't actually love the trade for anybody. Like I just I like Luka better in Dallas, and I like Anthony Davis better in LA. That's what makes this so fascinating, because it seems to be much more about one team not believing in one of the players and wanting to sell before it was time to pay. Before it got more expensive, before the commitment became even more intense and stronger. They did not want to give this guy the supermax, and they didn't believe that he had supermax type of commitment to the game. What if that happens for the Lakers? Again, I think they could justify it, but you could just see, the just how it positions and sets up for that, right? Luka Dončić goes to LA, goes to Hollywood. This is where I think LeBron will be really important, and just whatever kind of like Lakers culture. I don't know what the relationship with Magic Johnson is these days, but you get what I'm saying. Like get the Lakerisms baked into Luka Doncic's head as best you can. I don't know how receptive he'll be to any of it. Not to be morbid, but I do think about Kobe. This would be a great time to have Kobe. Have Kobe around for basketball reasons. Obviously, that's a much larger tragedy. But like thinking about that, like having who can reach Luka Dončić? Who can reach him? He's out there playing for Jason Kidd. So JJ Redick's supposed to reach him now. LeBron James, I understand, is there. LeBron's gonna reach him. Like, is Luka too big for that at this point? And I mean, like from a stature standpoint, not from a physical sense. That was not me fat shaming Luka the way that I've been known to do, the way I've been guilty of, and the way that clearly the Mavericks have as well. Nobody wants to laugh at that because we don't call people fat in public anymore, but it does seem like the Mavs have probably, somebody from the Mavs, I bet somebody significant from the Mavs has called him a fat ass. And has like bemoaned the fact that he or lamented the fact that he won't sprint and run full speed, won't get to the other side of the floor in a quick enough fashion because his ass is fat. We don't do this anymore as a society because we are a lot more sensitive and we are a lot more considerate of people's feelings and circumstance. But I grew up in an era where we would make fat jokes at times. And I don't think we should go back to that era. I think it was largely inappropriate. But when you do it tongue in cheek, and a guy is out there, the best player out there, and he looks like that and moves like that, and seems like he's out of breath, gasping for air while he cooks you, that's funny. That is funny. Man, I cannot believe this. So for this year, I don't think that, because we're doing this like double or two-part discussion of who's better off short term and then who's better off long term. And I don't really like either team in the short term per se. Like, I think the Lakers are better off long term because they got Luka. So they win that part, I think, far and away. Win that far and away. Luka's 25. He's the best player right now of all the players we're talking about, and he's the youngest of them. Like all the players for the Lakers and all the players for the Mavs, Luka is the best of them all. So, bam, the Lakers got the best player between the two teams, and he's the youngest. There's position for the future. To me, the whole fat shaming thing and the joking that I'm doing, I cannot imagine that fitness is going to keep a player of that magnitude, is going to keep him down. I just that's going to hold him back. I figure that at some point he's going to figure that out and come to. I mean, because for one thing, you get older. Like, you're able to get away with stuff when you're as young as Luka is, but 25, you get to the other side of that. Certainly once you start approaching 30, you get to the other side of 30. Like, eventually it's going to catch up to him. And maybe that's what the Mavs are betting on or betting against. Like, man, it's going to catch up to him and bite us in the ass type of thing. But, man, that dude's going to figure that part out. He's going to figure that part out. I think for the long term is clearly the Lakers. The short term is interesting because the Mavs get better defensively, and it's not like they can't put the ball in the basket. They got Kyrie, they got Anthony Davis. Klay Thompson, I know hasn't, I did want to say that he turned the ball over not that long ago against maybe the Clippers or somebody, and has been benched and hadn't seen the floor. Or hadn't been getting as many minutes since then. But and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not as tapped in with the Mavs at this moment. I will be. You better be damn Skippy. I will be now. Going on with the Mavs now that they didn't traded Luka. But they're probably not even probably. They're a better defensive team that should still be able to score. But I don't feel like they're anything better than the fourth, the fifth, the sixth best team in the Western Conference. Maybe that's good enough. Maybe there's not a big enough difference between that and whoever is actually the best team in the Western Conference, which we all know is the Oklahoma City Thunder. But we'll see how all of that plays out once the playoffs come around. Maybe it'll be more of a free-for-all the way it was last year. We'll see. But I don't necessarily like either one of these teams to really represent the Western Conference in the finals or anything like that. Maybe one of them could get to the conference finals, but I don't think either one of them has that greater of a chance than the other. Now, the Lakers, it should be noted, if we're going to talk about the Lakers, it should be noted that they take a tremendous hit defensively, and they already were not a good defensive team with Anthony Davis. You take Anthony Davis off the team, and then whenever Luka gets right, he's going to be playing as many minutes as Luka must play and does play. You're going to have that guy on the floor, the one who his previous GM just led a quote to a representative from ESPN, to a reporter from ESPN, with, I believe that getting an all defensive center and an all NBA player with a defensive mindset. I've got an all NBA player right now, but I'm going to ship him out to get one with a defensive mindset. I believe that defense wins championships, not this scoring thing that got me to the finals, but isn't going to help me win it. The Celtics that we lost to, he didn't say this, this is me adding now. Celtics that we lost to played defense. This guy does not. So the Lakers are dealing with that. That's the guy that they're getting. What must the Lakers feel like right now? This is like when somebody tries to sell you something that they shouldn't be selling, and you're like, well, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? You want this? That? You coming off that? Damn, times must be hard. What happened? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with you? Something must be wrong. That's the point here. That's the point, right? That's the big takeaway. No matter what you think, you can get basketball nerdy and X's and O's and say, man, the Mavs are much better defensively and the Lakers are much worse defensively. You know, the fit with LeBron and Lucas is going to be fun to watch and talk about all of that. But this comes down to, and then all of that is going to be fun to observe, like as this thing goes forward. I'm not even trying to minimize that, but all of this comes down to something is wrong. Okay. And we'll see who is wrong, like who is in the wrong. And because this doesn't feel, somebody's going to be wrong here. Okay. Because this doesn't feel like, hey, you know, we grew apart and we agree to disagree and we just go our separate ways. Nah, you don't trade a 25-year-old all NBA player, and you don't be a 25-year-old all NBA player that a team that you just took to the finals wants to trade. That does not happen. So the fact that it did means that something is wrong, went wrong, was wrong, and went wrong. I can't wait to find out. Like we're already getting the tidbits of, man, they didn't think he was committed enough and that he was in shape. But like, how did this really unfold? How did this really play out? We also saw, I think it was also Shams that mentioned that none of the players, like none of the relevant players involved here saw this coming, had a good sense that this was coming, which is shocking to me because I would figure everybody here is a big enough name and famous enough that they should know that they getting traded. Like I figured LeBron knew, AD knew, Luka knew. I figured everybody knew that this was coming, just that we didn't know. So if that's accurate, and I don't have any reason to believe to go against Sean's reporting on any of this, if it's accurate that they didn't see this coming, that part of it is also a fascinating little tidbit. Man, oh man, what went wrong? What happened? The Mavs. And shout out to Byron Matthews, producer of Sports Radio 610. Always hitting me. I'm not gonna say always, but hits me up with just like random sports questions and takes, whether it's through the text. If we see each other in the hallway, he'll stop by my office here at the Sports Radio 610 offices. Man, this dude sent me that, and I thought, man, no way is this the real Shams Charania tweet that he sent me. Like this guy, surely this dude got by a fake Shams account. Ain't no way in hell the Mavs traded Luka Dončić. No way in hell. Like, and didn't it have a vibe? Like when you first saw it, didn't it have a vibe of like a fake trade that some asshole made up on the internet and then like made their Twitter name as close as to the correct Twitter name as they possibly could to fool everybody, but it's just absurd, like fake trade. Give me your most absurd fake trade. Well, this would be one. Because you would start with, man, why would the Mavs do that? Why would the Mavs trade Luka Dončić? I know there are people that don't think that this makes sense for either team. I could understand that. But this is not just an X's and O's. We can talk about X's and O's, but this just goes beyond that, man. This is about relationships and trust and belief. And the relationship clearly soured, and the trust and the belief clearly was not there from the Mavericks and Luka Dončić. The Lakers are betting on the other side. I tend to be on the side of the Lakers because I don't know what the Mavs know. I don't know Luka the way the Mavs know Luka. I only make jokes about him looking out of shape out there. But I marvel at what he's able to do on the floor. And so if he's not going to live up to his potential somehow, That would be incredibly disappointing. That would be a sad story for as talented as Luka Dončić is. If he's not going to live up to that potential, then the Lakers are going to find out about it. The Lakers are going to find out exactly what it is that the Mavs have been concerned about. But man, if he does, man, what are you doing, Mavs? What are you doing? The worst trade, I think, like I don't think, even if Luka goes and balls out with the Lakers, which I expect him to do, I don't think that's going to be worse than the Paul George SGA trade. That's probably going to go down as the worst trade in NBA history and be in contention with some of the worst trades in sports history. So it's not going to be that bad, but if Luka continues to be all NBA Luka, takes the Lakers to the finals, God forbid they beat the Mavs in the playoffs at some point. Ooh, boy, I'd be so mad. I'd be so hot right now. I'm hot. You know what? I don't even like the Mavs. I hate the Mavs. Rockies fan. I'm upset on y'all behalf. I'm like, my blood is boiling on y'all behalf. I would be livid. As good as Anthony Davis is, as solid as this team still looks on paper, your future, Luka Dončić, gone to LA. A place where you probably feel like over the years is been a greater threat in free agency. But now you traded your best player, your franchise player, your future to the Lakers. Whew. And what y'all gonna do with all them damn jerseys, man? All them 77s. What y'all gonna do with them? What they gonna do with them 77s, man? I don't see how this thing could go this far south like this. To where I'm like, man, this is so bad to where I'm gonna trade Luka Dončić. Whew, couldn't be me. Could not be me. We're gonna see who's right. Cause this can't be no agree to disagree here. Somebody is right and somebody is wrong. Appreciate you for listening to the B Block Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast. You can also catch us on YouTube as well. Rate, review, tell a friend. And until next time, y'all be good.